5 or 6 of them, and I still do consulting for webinar companies now on their products, and I still use their products all the time. And everything we do at our brokerage is helping people get that stuff set up. Is it typically comes down to just not knowing how to do it, or getting frustrated with the process, or not knowing where to begin. And so there's a few things that anytime a new agent comes into our office, or anytime I'm working with a new person, the first thing that I want to do is it's almost like cleaning out the garage. I want to go in, I want to throw out the old stuff. I want to make sure that I make room for the new stuff, and I want to get it all cleaned up. And so the first thing that I do is get the CSV file from whatever database they're using. Okay, step one is, and by the way, sometimes it's like if it's sometimes it's just easier. Like if you've got leads in here, leads in there, or lead list, and you kind of worked it or you implemented it. Sometimes it's better just to clear the entire garage out, go through, throw everything out, restart. It can be a challenge. Sometimes people have a lot of things like, well, I've got this set up, I've got that set up. What I typically will do is from the get-go, anytime we launch something, it's like, let's get a fresh start. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get their CSV file, whether it's downloading it from their phone, or it's downloading from another lead list or another CRM. And all I really want is name, email, phone number. If I've got home address and that stuff easily pulls, then I'll go ahead and do that. And literally you can Google, whether you have Follow Up Boss, you have Lofty, you have whatever it is that you have, you can literally just Google like how to import leads into that. And so for our system, I mean, it's really, I'm going to share my screen. Let me do that. For our system, when we go in, it's literally as simple as clicking right here and clicking import leads. And whenever you go, it's literally just step by step of you click on it, you click on a file, and it'll literally walk you through. So like if I had this lead list or whatnot, I could go in and it'll say, what are they? And most of the CRM companies literally walk you through, like, is it a buyer? Is it a seller? Is it a renter? Is it an investor? And so when I first load everything up, I click buyer and seller because I'm going to work the leads as I get them in. It's not like I need to make sure it's completely perfectly organized. What I also see a lot of agents do and business owners do is they become so stuck on perfect that they don't actually get moving forward. There's a saying that my mentor is always reminding me of called GETMO, good enough to move on, GETMO. And perfection is the enemy of done. And done is more important than perfect. In fact, there's a bunch of different analogies and metaphors and sales stories. One of my favorite stories is the one where you took a class of 50 people, you divided it in two. On the left side, you had 25 students, and the message was create the perfect vase. And on the right side, it was create as many vases as possible. Vase. So when you go into this space, right, and you look at it, well, the one on the left, they had one vase. The other one, they ended up making like 20 different vases. Man, that's going to mess with me. And the ones that they made were of better quality. And so you just want to get in here. You want to upload the file. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to upload it, mark them as buyer and seller, name, email, phone number. Whatever data you have, great. Don't worry about birthdays. Don't worry about home address. Don't worry about all that stuff because you're going to work your database. You're going to work your client base. You're going to work your leads, and you can update them as you go. But I've literally watched agents for years not do anything with that. And then they end up not working these things. And they end up having challenges with these things and never get them done. And so then another year goes by, another month goes by, and it's like, just get in there and do it. Okay. The second thing that I'm going to do, if I'm buying leads, or if I'm investing in leads, or I'm doing open houses, or I'm doing door knocking, I want to make sure that the process from lead capture to lead implementation or lead capture to lead entry is automated. Data entry is a major killer in a sales CRM. As salespeople, we're not great data entry people. If we were, we wouldn't have chosen to be in sales and be an entrepreneur and build businesses. And maybe some of us have some data entry love inside of us, but at the end of the day, if I'm driving down the road and I get a lead and I have to call it, talk to it, remember my notes, pull over, enter in the leads, type the notes, put it in there, status it, do all that stuff. Usually what happens is in that moment, maybe we're driving, maybe we're walking into the house. We have too many distractions in real estate to systematically and 100% of the time do our data entry. And so I always think of it like this, like sometimes people say, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's only 4 or 5 a month. Yeah, maybe that's true, but that's 4 or 5 distractions. And let's be real, we don't always do it. And so if we only do 4 of it out of 5, well, that's 20% of our leads we just lost. If we get 100 leads a month and we have to do that 100 times, we might only do 60. Like you're going to lose leads. Think of leads as like gasoline for your car. Why would you want to go to a gas station and have a 20-gallon tank and buy 25 gallons, but the last 5 gallons you just pour on the side of the road and be like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, right? So, for example, Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook leads, Google leads, open house leads, you can literally automate it on almost all the CRMs and connect them where they automatically go in, takes you literally 30, 40 seconds. Most CRMs, and you could even Google, like I'm a big fan of this, like sometimes people get stuck, they get stuck because they just don't, they get stuck because they just think they're getting stuck, or they say things like, I don't know what to do. You could literally Google, I don't want to type Google, you can literally Google how to connect Zillow leads to Follow Up Boss. I don't use Follow Up Boss. I know a lot about Follow Up Boss, but look, right here, tells you exactly set up. You could say how to do it with KV Core. You can even spell it wrong. It's still going to give you the answer, right? You can do it with everything. And most of the time, it's one of 2 different options. Okay, so in one option, there's an integration page. Most of them know it's got to be super easy. And so right here, integrations. And then usually you're going to have a list of different things that you can integrate that you just click, 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 sign in. Click, 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 sign in. For other ones, you'll need to use what's called Zapier. Maybe it's called Zapier. Could be Zapier, could be Zapier. I think, what's up, Joe? I think it's Zapier. I've always pronounced it Zapier. Never heard them at a conference, but this is a very easy to use tool. Think of this as your personal assistant that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, holidays, nights, weekends. They never sleep and they never ask you for money. For most agents, the free account, which gives you, think of it as this way. It's an assistant, like I said, but it's also a bridge builder. Okay, if I've got leads on the Zillow island and I want to get them into the CRM island, I got to have a bridge. This is that. And for the most part, Zapier has built a business on making it super easy. So for example, I don't know, I've never set this Zapier integration up. I don't know about how to work with Follow Up Boss. I've never used it, but I could literally go in here and I could go in here and they have a bot that says, you know, how to add that stuff. I don't even know how to use that, but I could simply say trigger. It'll say, what are you connecting? Well, I want to connect Zillow. There it is, Zillow. And then it'll say, what do you want to happen? And I want to say, when I get a new contact. Look, it's the only option. When I get a new contact, continue. And then it'll go into my email and test it to make sure that it comes out and connects the 2. Now I'm going to test the trigger. And again, I don't have it in here. And it'll say whether or not it's connected. Let me give you an example of what this looks like in a real one. I'm trying to illustrate the point of we get in our way so many times based on the fact that we say things like, I don't know how to do it, or I've never done that before, or another one, I'm not a techie person. I understand tech. I've worked in tech. I'm not a techie person. But I don't say I'm not a techie person. I just say, I haven't done it yet. I'll learn. But this is a very easy to use program. I literally go in here and let's say I wanted to get my leads from Mojo to my CRM. Okay, what's Mojo, Josh? Well, Mojo is for like cancel and expired leads. I'd go in here and I'd say, I want them to go from Mojo. It's right there. The app is there. I want it to be a new activity, a new contact in a group. What's the account? Well, there's my account right there. And how did I get my account right there? It'll ask me to sign in. The guys who have built this made it so easy to use that you literally, and it's funny because some of my agents are like, whoa, that's like coding genius. Nope, it's not. It's really not. It's like signing into Mojo. I click continue. I come in here and it'll say, okay, it'll go in there and say, which group, which bucket, Diana's KV Core, Diana's Circle Dialing, Realtor.com leads, all that. Wherever your leads are, it'll go in there and find them. And I'll say, well, I want to automate this one. Okay. Then it'll connect to it. I'll hit continue. It'll say, do you want to test it? Sure, I'll test it to make sure that it's set up the correct way. And it'll say, hey, we just found this record. It's working. Great, let's go with that one. What do you want to happen next? I want it to go to Lofty. I want it to go to KV Core. Where do I want it to go? Okay, what do I want to happen? Well, when I put it in there, I want it to create a new lead. What account do I want it to go into? I want it to go into my account. Okay, continue. Okay, what data do you want it to pull? Right here, this little button for mapping. And it says, you want the first name? And it just highlights it. Here's the first name, right? What do you want, Josh? Well, I want first name to match first name. I want last name to match last name. I want email to match email. And I literally just walk through this. And so I tell this program what lead source, what do I want it to do when what happens, and then it tests it. And now automatically, anytime any of my agents are in, and this is great for teams, by the way, Joe. So like, for example, when I've got a team member and they say, I want to use your dialer, I want to make calls, and then I want the leads to automatically go in. I literally have these buckets that I set up, Diana Soto for Realtor.com, for Circle Dialing. And when she drops leads in here, it automatically will take it out and it'll drop it into this. And then once it gets into that, I can also automate my follow-up process. And I'm getting ahead because I'm highlighting, I know where Joe's at. He's a little bit further than some of us. But right here, the first thing I want to do is I want to get my database in, and I want to get all the leads automatically coming in. Most of them will have what's called an API, which is just basically a direct connection. And the other ones will be able to be used with Zapier. I run a brokerage with almost 35 people in it, and my Zapier account for the free one does the job. Most single agents, you're going to need 2 or 3 what they call zaps, which is bridges, and you're good to go. All the major lead companies, they know that their leads are a problem for data entry. So all the major companies, all of them, literally all of them integrate with Zapier. And for the ones that are, well, Josh, I get these one-off email leads. Well, guess what? You can create Zapier workflows off of Google and it'll scrape your email. So you can literally go in here and say, it's from Gmail. And what's the trigger event? A new email comes in. And which email account? And it'll literally say, which one do you want to use? And then you can go in there and find that email and say, when it's this sender with this subject line, hey, you've got a new lead, grab that one, scrape it, drop it in my CRM. Now, the first time I used it, it was a little bit of a challenge when I was testing some stuff out, because when I'd push over the data, maybe the home address would come in the wrong field. And so I just would go back in and edit which field it was in. And now I can literally set them up in a few minutes and it saves me a ton of time and all the leads are automated and people love it. What's the best way for overseas VAs to make the calls? I would just have them, I would train them on Mojo. I mean, if it was me, I would train them on Mojo and I would have the bucket built so that when they have the call, they click on the bucket, it drops it into the CRM, and then you can build your CRM process for like what kind of lead it is. If it's expired, you can do an expired marketing smart plan. And then, and you can have the smart plan alert you, you can have the smart plan send automatic text messages for you, all that good stuff. The best way is to just build out the process in Drive, build out the process in Mojo, build the bridge, and that way there's no international calling. I mean, gone through Mojo? They should have that number. Is that an issue?
Yeah, so I've already got everything in Mojo, but her calling, it's an international charge, so I either have to eat that fee or find a different workaround. So I was
Can you
looking
try
into
going like with a Google Voice number?
I could try setting one up, but Google Voice is a US thing, not a Philippine thing.
Would be a good person for that question. International VA dialing. How much is the fee?
Depends on how long she's on. So
Like, is it how many cents per hour for talk time only, dial time?
oh, you're not old enough to remember when we called long distance in the States, we paid by the minute. It's
You
that
want to do
same.
20 or what?
It's international. We pay by the minute. So I just
But
don't
it's
have
on talk time, right? Not rings or the
it's talk time.
Does the talk time start when the phone rings?
When she calls into the server.
Yeah, so then the whole session.
So it's not worth it to outsource to her. I'd be better off just hiring somebody on Fiverr to do it and giving them a script.
Yeah. Yeah.
$20 ISA is cheaper than paying international fees.
I'd hire an agent to do it. They'll do it for free. Actually, they'll pay you to do it, Joe. Right? And so here's one of the beautiful things. So this happens a lot where I hear this all the time where it's like, hey, I'll go hire the VA because at least I know they'll do it. There are agents out there that if they can get the leads, if they can get the system, if they can get the training, they're out there, they exist, that will dial. And if you've got the right system and you've got the right leads and you've got the right processes, they'll do the work in exchange for the coaching and mentorship. And so, what I would do is start marketing. Hey, I've got, so like, for example, one of our messages like, hey, we're going to generate 200 leads this week for buyers. If you're interested in working more buyers and you want to work a system that works, let us know. Or for sellers, hey, we're generating 300, 600, 800 leads a month for sellers right now. If you want to learn how to dial for sellers and you want to make phone calls and you don't want to drive around and door knock and you don't want to do all this weird stuff, you want to make phone calls and list more properties, give us a call. And then at the same time, you're looking for somebody that's kind of a newer agent. Like there's an agent that we were talking to. What was his name? The guy who's got a golden handcuff job he was going to come to this training, then he got busy at work. He loves cold calling, rugby player.
Oh, Jacob.
Jacob. There's a guy, Jacob. He's like, I was a cold caller. That's how I get my business now. That's what I want to do. I don't want to door knock. And I'm looking for somebody that wants to train me on cancel and expires. I mean, they exist. A lot of times people will say things like, well, agents don't want to make cold calls. Well, that's true that a lot of agents don't want to make cold calls. But I know Aaron Wittenstein out in Florida, he has a cold calling group with 80,000 members nationwide. People that only care about cold calling. Aaron Wittenstein. It's called cold. I forget the name of it, but look him up. He's the interviewer for Vulcan 7. He's the guy that does all the interviews for the Vulcan 7 people. All right, so that's the first thing. The first thing I want to do with any CRM is I want to get my leads in it, and I want to get Zapier integration or a connection there, or I want to make sure all my new leads are coming in for like open houses. The best part about this is like, all right, well, Josh, I do a lot of open houses. Great. All the companies, and let me double check, all the main companies. I know KV Core, I know Lofty, I know, like, for example, if you know how to set up the open house Lofty app, there's a video that I have. They have an open house app. If you go to open house follow-up boss, open house lead capture, right? Here's an article of their open house, how they set it up. If you go KV Core, the beautiful part about this is you can automate this process, and it's super, super simple. So like when you go in here and you go marketing and you go into open house forms, these are all the agents that are doing open houses and stuff, but you literally add new, you can select one of your listings automatically, or you can search it. And if it's on the MLS, this stuff is already connected. It'll go in, it'll grab photos, you click save. I have a preset questionnaire up here with open houses. So name, email, phone number. Do you want to send them a welcome email? Do you want to send them a text message? Who do you want the owner to be? Which is obviously you in a single, and you hit save and it's done. You hit save and it's done, and you can hit save. And then when you open it up, you literally have the form where they fill it out and it automatically drops it in. And so rather than, by the way, for those of you wondering why this listing has garbage photos, it's because it is a business that I had to navigate around, and it's all off marketing stuff. I literally just took some pictures. It's the only property in my entire life that I've ever taken regular photos from. So anyway, shame me. At least my finger's not over the lens, you know? But anyway, this right here automatically, and I get some agents that are like, well, you know, I like the paper. That's cool. I like VHSs too, right? But at the same time, the quality of the lead comes in is better. They lie less on the forms. They do validation where if they put in a wrong email, it'll block some of it, and it 100% eliminates the data entry. It's a much cleaner interface. And it's like, for me in business, it's less about my feelings, right? And more about what's going to be efficient and save my time and make me more money. One thing that I've learned about some of my mentors and some of my business leaders is they don't get caught up in the emotions of what they like. It's all about what's best for the business. Could you imagine like when Target was switching over all their cash register to digital, and they had like one person on the cash register? Like, honestly, I really like the paper, and so I just want to stay on paper. They'd be like, no, you're not staying on paper because you like it, right? It makes the business more money. It's more efficient, more trackable, more secure, better for payments, right? All that stuff. And so it goes into that space of, let's focus on what's the best. And here's the beautiful part. If you're running a team, we train on all of this in our business, where it's like, hey, use this, because if you want coaching, training, and Joe, this is something that like the team leaders get stuck on all the time. They're like, my agents won't do the work. I don't know how they follow up the leads. I don't have any transparency. I can't see. Well, when people join the company and they're like, I want to get better at sales, I want to get better at leads, and then I look in their system and they're not using the open house app, I say, hey, you came here to get better, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Great. If you don't put your leads in the system and they're not recorded, and I don't see when you followed up with them and what the formula was, how am I going to coach you? And it becomes less about do the job because I told you to do it. It's like, hey, I need to be able to see what you're doing, and I've got the formula. And let me show you the 20 different ways you're losing time every time you wake up. And so I can help you. And this goes back to us as well. Hannah, Carrie, John, when we're trying to get better results in sales, people think that sales, one of the beautiful parts about a CRM and reason why people should dial them in is because it allows you to review data. When people make decisions, like you think Amazon literally, when they have people clicking on different pages to buy stuff, they literally have 20 different versions of those pages running at the same exact time that you have no clue about. And they're literally going, do they buy more when we click on orange? When we write this in green? When we write this in blue? Which one do they buy more on? And then they make their decision on how customers behave. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, man. That blew my mind. But you know what? We all know about it. It just reminded us how apparent it is, because people buying, sales is not this like mystical thing that just randomly occurs. There's a psychology behind it. Humans, we behave the same way, we buy the same way. And most of the time as agents, we give them way too much credit. Well, that was Susie, and Susie's much different. Nope, Susie's a human. Susie, as a general population, she makes decisions for the same reasons. Now, there's different segments of customers, right? Some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, some people are analytical, etc. But you need to be able to see data in order to make bigger decisions, right? And so when you run these things through of your sales process, well, I'm not getting, like I had this agent, she goes, Josh, I've been doing open houses and they're exhausting and I'm not succeeding. Now, I already know this agent's not on program. She barely uses the app. When she does use the app, she doesn't follow up with the task on time. She doesn't do all this stuff. And she's like, Josh, is there an easier, she goes, I don't want to give, and I love it. She's like, I don't want to give up on open houses, but I'm just wondering if there's another way to succeed. I'm like, oh man, there's lots of other ways to succeed. You can do cancel and expires. You can do internet leads. You can do door knocking. You can do mailers. You can do flyers. You can do farming. You can do networking. You do client events. You can do all these things. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for the easiest, fastest way with the least amount of rejection, with the most amount of opportunity to succeed and get a check within the next 60 days. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. That's open houses. Could I train you on cancel expired? Sure, but that's a 180-day process. And it's harder. Could I train you on door knocking? Sure. But you got to door knock the same neighborhood for months and months and months, and you're just hoping it's not a target rich environment. The reality is, she goes, well, I'm not getting a lot of success with the open houses. And I said, but you're also not following a process. Let me give you an example. Inside, we've got the app and we've got the open house marketing plan. We've got 7 or 8 agents getting regular success with the open houses. Rather than wonder if open houses are for you, we got to wonder, are you on the same process and program as them? So then I said, she goes, well, I do it sometimes. I said, here's what's happening. You're coming to me and say, Josh, what's the easiest and best way to bake a cake? And I say, great. Here's the ingredients. Here's the recipe. Here's the instructions. I want you to go to the store. I want you to buy all the ingredients. You come home. You take all the ingredients. You mix them in this order. Then you immediately put them in the oven for this amount of time, 20 minutes on 450. What you're doing is you're going to the store and you're buying most of the ingredients, but you forgot the app one day, so you forgot the milk. So you come back to the store and you say, I'll do the milk next time. Well, we're going to go ahead and make this cake this time. You put the eggs and the water together, but then you get distracted, and 2 days later you come back. You're not following up with the task. So 2 days later, you still got the milk and the eggs on the counter that's been sitting there for a couple of days. So then you add some vanilla, you add some flour. You're missing the, whatever it was. You're missing the vanilla because you forgot it. So this time you're going to put some chocolate syrup in it. Then you say, I only have 10 minutes to cook today, so I'm going to put it in the oven for 500, and then I'm going to do 3 minutes tomorrow. And then you look at me and you go, the cake's not working. Is there something easier to bake? In sales, there's a very systematic approach that needs to be followed, because timing is everything. If I go to a website to buy something and somebody calls me about it 5 days later, I've already moved on to the next thing. I may even bought something else. I may even talk to another realtor. I may have all these things. So by automating these processes and getting those dialed in, where all of my leads from all of my sources go into my CRM so that I can work them in a prescribed follow-up, I want to focus on those 2 things first. I want to focus on getting all my client in there. I want to focus on getting all my new leads coming in there. And once I have those 2 things, then I can move on. Now, one of the other big problems, and if anybody has any questions or anything, hop right in. I mean, we got a small audience, which is great. So the other thing that I want to do is, I watch this all the time. And so when people look at our smart plans, we've got smart plans for open houses. We've got smart plan, and I didn't use any templated stuff from the clients. I built everything out myself, and everybody wants to have these really cool smart plans, these really cool follow-ups. Here's the funny thing, and you can do this right away, and it takes no effort, and almost all the leads in every CRM can automatically get set up. But check this out. I'm going to show you something, because people are like, Josh, you got all these cool smart plans. Well, here's the thing. We do a couple hundred leads a month, and let's go to reporting, and we run some cool smart plans. But watch this. So if I look at, give me all the leads all time this year, and give me all of the smart plans, and apply filters. We sent out, on the smart plans, we sent out 15,888 emails this year. 4,200 of them got open, 26.88. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we see more and more and more people opening them, and it builds and builds and builds. That's pretty cool, right? And at the same time, property alerts, the new listing alerts, the MLS alerts, 58,000, 4,000, 41%. Because no matter how cool Josh Pono is, no matter how cool the realtor is, no matter how cool the ideas of our smart plans and our videos, and the number one thing that a buyer looking to buy, or a seller that also needs to buy in order to, or also wants to buy, whether they got to sell first or buy a second property, the people online, on websites, on Facebook, on Google, even if they're a seller and a buyer, they're still a buyer. The number one thing that these people want in low inventory markets, which almost all of us are in because of 3% interest rates, the number one thing they want is new listing alerts. So make sure every one of your open house leads Okay, and most CRMs automatically do this for you. There's another reason why don't use paper. Because if I use the open house sheet and I sign in with paper, I gotta manually add them to my CRM. I gotta manually add where they came from. I gotta manually add the new listing alert for them. When I do it through the app, it does it all for me. Well, Josh, it only takes you 3 minutes. No, it takes you 3 minutes times 20 people in open house times 52 open houses a year times 10 years in your career. You just blew like 3 years doing data entry. And I know everybody here's smarter than that. I'm just illustrating a point that we think that the little things are just little things, but they compound over time. You want a penny that doubles every 30 days, or you want $1 million? Penny compounding every day, doubling over time is way, way more. Imagine that in your business life. Imagine that in all these places. So again, number one, get our leads into our database. Number two, get our new leads automatically connected. Number three, make sure every open house lead, Facebook lead, Zillow lead, Google lead, any type of lead that's coming in is on the new listing alerts. I mean, think about that. 24,000 people opened up our listing alerts, our smart plans, and we have like 12 different smart plans, only 4,000 people. 6 to 1. And sometimes we get focused on like, wow, 26%, that's pretty good. That's great. But also, they'll open this thing time and time and time again. Now, here's the beautiful part. All of the CRMs, okay, here's the next thing that I'll set up. If I've got all my leads in there, I've got them all on new listing alerts. The last thing I'm going to do that is like a bare minimum starting out, and all of these plans, all of them have them. All of them have them. I'm going to set up 2 easy to use smart plans. Joe, you're going to love this. One of them right here. Return visits after 30 days, 10 days, whatever you want. We got it a little bit aggressive right now. It's after 10 days. Every single CRM has the ability, well, the main ones, Lofty, Follow Up Boss, KV Core, they have the ability, if they're on the new listing alerts, and we already illustrated the point, they're going to open up these things all the time. They're going to come back. The number one thing that brings people back to the website, hands down, without question, tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast, is new listing alerts. Okay, and so if I've got all those things in place, I can literally program my website that says, hey, any lead, right here, there's what these call these triggers. Super easy. Sounds crazy. Everybody looks at me like I'm a programming genius, which is flattering, but it's super easy. Website behavior is returns to the website after 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. I can set it up literally by just saying returns. Look at this. This is how easy it is to code these things. Website behavior is returns to the website after 10, 20, 30, whatever I want. Pipeline, what segment do I want? I want it for all new leads, attempting leads, hot leads, warm leads, nurturing leads, bad leads. Why not? I'll throw it in there. I'd even throw it in there for a do not contact if I want. Hit save. Okay, once I do that, it says, cool, anytime somebody comes to the website after 10 days, meaning they haven't come to the website for 10 days, they come back. Then I can set up an alert that says, here's a notification, notify the agent, let me know. So I know that somebody, imagine the service, right? You're on a website, you like it, you come back 10 days later, and the agent calls you and goes, hey, I just saw you came back to the website, man. Just saw you came back to the website. I was in front of my computer, I saw you. Now, what I do, because I know that a lot of the times those phone calls won't get made, because if an agent gets an alert, or if, let's just be real, if I'm at a listing appointment, if I'm driving and I've got buyers in a car, if I'm at an open house, if I am hanging out with my family after a long 70-hour work week, if I'm at a holiday party, if I'm being a realtor, that's funny. If I'm being a realtor, right? Don't be a realtor. I laugh about that sometimes. If I'm being a realtor, meaning I'm tired, I'm distracted, I'm busy, and I get an alert that says somebody's back at your website, as much as the perfect Josh Pono that has this vision when he's creating systems is like, oh, I'm always going to follow. I'm going to be Mr. Perfect. I'm going to follow up with everybody. As much as Mr. Perfect Josh Pono in that moment likes the idea of following up perfectly with everybody else, I know that I'm not going to be able to do that. So what do? I build my CRM to do the work for me. Joe, you'll love this. So here's what I do. 3 minutes after they get to the website, I have the website send them a text message. Hey, Joe, welcome back to the site. I'm writing up an email for you about our off-market listings. I'll text you when it's sent out. The reason why I do it at 3 minutes is if I show up to a website and instantly I get an email or a text message saying, hey, I just noticed you came back to the site. Do I think that Joe personally sent me that text message or email? No, if it's instant, Carrie, you send me a text message. I haven't been to your website in 10, 20, 30 days. I land on your website and all of a sudden I get a text message. Hey, Josh, it's Carrie. I just saw you came back to my website. I'm like, and if I think it's automated, then I think that you're impersonal. So I do it 3 minutes after. You might want to do it 4, you might want to do it 5, but that's the beautiful part about a system. You test it, you throw it out there. Is it getting a great response? So it says, hey, Joe, welcome back to the site. Hey, Carrie, welcome back to the site. I'm writing up an email for you about our off-market listings. I'll text you when I want. Why? I already know the thing that's hooked them is the listings. We've already discussed the number one thing in massive quantity is the new listings. So what do they want? They want listings. If I text them and go, hey, it's Josh, I see you're back to the website. Need anything? They're going to go, no, I got the listing from your email. I'm looking at a listing. I don't need your help looking at a listing. But if I say, I'm going to email you about our off-market listings, I'll text you when it's sent. Do you think they unsubscribe to this text? No, I just told them I'm going to do work for them for what they want. Off-market goodies. About to email you about the deals. They don't unsubscribe. Then 3 minutes later, because that's about how long it took me to write this email. And I'm actually going to move it to 5. I think 5's a little bit. No, I'll go to 4. I like to try some stuff out. I sent him an email. The best deals aren't always found online. Here's how the system works. And I literally just say, hey, glad to see you're using the website. I sell them a little bit about why my website's cool and fast and easier to use. I'd love them to use my site instead of Zillow. I can dream, can't I? I go ahead and refine this every time I find errors and whatnot. Notice you came back when I sent you the listings over. I do my best to help educate people, help you find the best deal. It makes a client for life. I focus more on the relationship than I do the paycheck. With that said, we spent about blah, 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 blah. Here's some great houses. If you want to let me know, if you want to know more about it, just let me know. A minute after that email goes out, I say email sent to your inbox. If you didn't get it or want to chat about the off-market properties, let me know. Have a great week. So I played this too cool for school. I'm playing difficult to get. I'm not being commission breath. And I'm going, watch me work for you. So 3 minutes. Hey, I saw you came back to the site. I'm going to send you some value because I know you're interested. 5 minutes later, 3 minutes later, I send an email that says, here's an email that I just wrote for you. 1 minute after that, I send a text message because that's what it would be if I just did those 3 actions. And we get responses from it. And sometimes they send responses like, send it to me via email. I'd like to learn more about it via email. And we build out the template. But this one alone, right here, easy to use, 4 simple steps. And it's a safety net so that it's not even a safety net anymore. It's me building my system so I can just let the system do the heavy lifting. I know they want listings. I make sure they all get set up in listings. Then I make sure that the system, if they come back to my website, it makes it look like I give them awesome, amazing service, and I don't have to worry about anything. When they respond via email or text, I get an alert that says, hey, they're responding to you. And then at that point, I know it's time to hop in there because it's not a generic junk response. It's something good. It's something of value. It's something of service. And so that right there, I can plug and play, and it's great. Now, we're recruiting really well right now. We brought in 8 or 9 agents last month, depending on when the paperwork was finalized. We've got another 2 that already joined this month. We've got a few more on the way this week. We've got a really great recruiting system. One of the secrets, Joe, that I'm doing right now is I'm literally just showing these people like, hey, these are the systems we're building. These are the stuff we're putting in for you, right? So if you're building a team, Hannah, Carrie, and you want to build it, 1, you'll get better at the job by having this in place. You'll get more clients. You'll make more money. 2, as you expand and you want to get a buyer's agent or you want to grow your team, we literally, yeah, that is a problem with KV Core. You know how I feel about them. And I used to have them too, but I switched over. I like Lofty better. So let me know if you want to talk about that. I got a connection with them, of course. But one of the things that we do, right? One of the things we do is we literally show this off. And so we use a line again. We use a line in the industry that helps us. It's like, listen, everybody and their mother says they got great systems. Everybody and their mother says they got the best hamburger. Let us show you how we're going to help you make more money, and let us show you how we're going to build the tools so that while you're hanging out with your family, it's doing the work for you, because all you want to do is you want to make more money with less work and effort. I'm not shy about it. I want to make money while I sleep without even doing anything, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we become business owners. And this then becomes a value prop to grow out your business. And that's what I try to highlight to everybody the most. There is so much magic and so much value and so much power in systems. Everybody makes it this negative Goliath because of these limiting beliefs we have about I'm not a techie person, or I don't do this, or they try to like just, if you focus on it, it'll be the foundation of your growth. And when we show that to people, there's people we compete with that have 600-700 sales a year, and we show it to them and they don't have that stuff. And that's just one little caveat to that's just a fraction of it. Those are things you can just add in really quickly that'll make it so that your CRM starts working for you. Again, step 1, get all your leads in. Step 2, make sure all your leads are connected. Step 3, make sure all new leads have new listing alerts. And if for some reason they're not automatically getting set up, I just chat. Like if leads aren't getting automatically set up on new listing alerts, I just chat the company. I go, hey, this one didn't get set up automatically. Why? Oh, that was a glitch. We'll make sure that happens. Or, oh, well, you set it up wrong. Do this. Okay. And then step 4 is the first thing I want to do is I want to build my system out so that it catches the ball when I'm dropping it. Because we all know we wear many hats in real estate. And let's be real, if I'm at a listing presentation, I'm not going to stop and capitalize on an opportunity on my website that may or may not be legit. And here's the other thing. Some people will say to us, they'll say, well, Josh, these people don't always respond. They don't. But guess what? They know that we were following up with them. They know that well, they can't tell whether it's automated or not. It keeps them on their edge. The service is that good. They're like, was it automated? Was it not? I couldn't tell, but they still give you credit for setting it up that way. And then here's the other thing too. As you build this out, John, Joe, and Hannah, Kara, I know you guys are single agents right now, but I want to cast the vision of like, this is what's possible. The really cool thing is like, I built this system on a Saturday. Monday, my agent, Diana, came in and was like, I just got a conversation with a lead. I said, yeah, how'd you get it? She goes, I got it from the system. I said, you did? She goes, yeah. She goes, I didn't even know that was going on. It just served the lead up for me. Do you think when people ask Diana about the brokerage and what we're doing, she tells them like, yeah, it's cool? No, she's like, no, we've got tools that are doing the work for you. And Josh is building all this stuff. And so as you paint that picture and as you cast that vision, it becomes a retention tool for not only your clients, but also for your teams that you're building. And then what happens is you start to build momentum, right? These are some of the very simple steps. And I could go, Ryan and I were like, man, this could be like a 5-part series and we could dial this in even deeper, but like get Mo good enough to move on. Those are the areas that I would focus on immediately with any agent that I was working with is like, that's the foundation right there. It's simple. It's easy. What about building on all that stuff? Cool, Josh. Yeah, we could do that. I've been building on our CRM for this one specifically for 10 months now, and I still am building every week something new, some new conversation, some new script built in, some new follow-up program. But I start with the foundation, and then I just add and add and add and add and add. And before you know it, you look up and you're like, man, this is really dialed in. That's super cool. I didn't know about the text message automatically once per day with them.
Yeah, that happened last year, about 18 months ago. They took it, their contract with Twilio, restricted it to where you can only send one automated message per 24-hour period. I can manually text all I want.
Even if they engage with it?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We are going to face some challenges. I'd imagine the TCP, they're doing what they can to stop automations and bot texting. I mean, I know I have friends that are working in like AI calls, and they were like, yeah, we're getting phenomenal results. And I'm the guy that if anybody says they're getting phenomenal results, I'm like, let's define that. What do you call
the numbers?
Yeah, what's the numbers? And he's like, well, we got 3 leads. And I'm like, well, 3 leads that picked up the call and engaged with the AI. And I'm like, how many phone calls? He's like, 48,000. I was like, holy smokes. You sent out 48,000 robot calls and got 3 leads? Like, that just seems like a recipe for disaster to me. No, I'm good. I don't want to do AI 48. Gosh, the TCP finds out we send out 200 million calls in a year. No, thank you.
All you have to do is tell the AI, please add me to your do not call list, and it'll respond, I'm sorry, I will add you to our do not call list.
I like that. We programmed our AI to be polite, sir. Carrie, Hannah, John, was this a good bite-sized piece? Do you have questions, concerns? Was it too basic? Chime is lofty. Chime is lofty. So Chime used to be Lofty. I'm sorry, Lofty used to be Chime. They had horrible customer service, notoriously horrible customer service. So the best thing you can do when you got horrible customer service, don't fix the customer service, just change the name of the company. No, I'm kidding. And so they used Chime. They fixed their customer service. And so they did both. They focused on their customer service, but rather than try to reconvince everybody that they had fixed the customer service, they changed the name and the customer service, and they do it. What I found with the customer service, is that in the beginning, it was a little frustrating for me because my expectation was I wanted to be able to call somebody and talk to somebody. What I found was the moment I dropped my expectations, I actually liked the chat service better because one, they pick up pretty quickly. Two, they're pretty knowledgeable and I can troubleshoot stuff very quickly and it's available whenever I want for the most part. I mean, I've literally hit them up at 5 a.m. on a Friday morning and they'll pick up, and I've hit them up at 6. I do a lot of my systems work in the morning and on the weekends, and they've been available. So I like Lofty for a lot of reasons. KV Core is great, and the analogy I use for people with KV Core is, KV Core is like the iPhone that keeps being upgraded that you bought, and you just keep, or it's like an older computer. You bought it, it got a little bit old, they upgraded on top of it, upgraded on top of it, upgraded on top of it. Yeah, and Lofty's like the new computer with all the new components, and they do a lot of similar things, but deliverability rates and speed of the website. Most of these big companies, they go through their transitions and they grow. Lofty, it really goes back to what do you like using? What are you going to use? What are you going to do consistently? All right, everybody, have a phenomenal day. If you don't have any questions, wait, I know we talk a lot. You're welcome, Carrie. KV Core is merging with Boomtown to become Bull Trail. Yeah, so Boomtown was Inside Real Estate owns KV Core. And they're a company they bought Boomtown and they rebranded to Bold Trail, and they also own Brokerment. Joe Skegan. I used to work for KV Core for a little while. I used to work for Inside Real Estate before they bought. Inside Real Estate used to be a CRM, and they recognized that their technology was not good. And so they could either spend millions of dollars building up a new one, or they could just go buy KV Core with the client base and rebrand. And so they bought, well, it was Conversion then. So they bought Conversion, they rebranded to KV Core by Inside Real Estate for a while. Then Inside Real Estate fell off. Inside Real Estate's the parent company. They bought a couple other companies. Data. Joe Skegan's a cool guy, though. He's been around a long time. But it's funny because I have friends that were at Boomtown because I used to work there. And they called me and they were all nervous. And I was like, Joe's a cool guy, but Boomtown had such a special culture, man. Like being at Boomtown was crazy. Like, they were just this really cool Southern company. They're out of South Carolina and Charleston. Like they had this cool like Apple vibe type of campus. They had a whiskey club on Tuesdays where like they would order whiskeys and people would do whiskey tastings, and they had, a few beers on tap, and they would order food, and like at lunch they would have daily what do they call it,
Frisbee golf?
ultimate frisbee where you're playing like football but with a frisbee, and like people would go out and exercise, and like they had it was just a really cool company. And of course everything changed. Big company buys you. My favorite is when a big company buys a small company that's got super cool culture. They're like, nothing's gonna change at all, and it's like,
Hey, John asked if you got a system in place for follow-up, like a 61 touch or a Dave Hook style campaign.
I haven't put one in place. what I found with some of the agents is they want to follow up with their own stuff, their own way. I haven't done like the 34 touch or, you know, with Gary Keller, I haven't done any of that stuff, but it's on the agenda. We'll get there when we do, but not yet. That's one of the things I like about Lofty though, is you like, so with KV Core, you know this, Joe, is like you got to go into the template section, or at least this was the way it was a year ago. You go into the template section, you got to build out every text template, every email template, everything, label it all correctly. Then you go into the drip campaign system and you're like, okay, give me this template, give me that template, give me this template, and you got to put it all together. Is that the way it still is or no?
You can do it that way, or you can just build it from scratch. And if you build it from scratch, you're not saving them as templates.
Yep.
It makes you save them as a template, but you can't pull it from the template file.
Yeah, and so that's the way. So what they didn't have that option when I was using KV Core, where I like to just build from scratch and just go down the road and make it. And then if I need to make the template, then I'll make the template email. For me,
I
you know,
build script campaigns from scratch.
it just for me was like a lot easier because I would hate to like, oh, I forgot to do this template and I have to go back and make the template. It was like for me, it was like I'd rather just move it around, play with it, have it almost like it was a whiteboard and just go from it and be like, okay, which one's going to be templated? Because I found that I wasn't using as many generic evergreen email templates in my campaign, like my open house campaign or template. And so I would template out the evergreen content, right? Like the evergreen stuff I would, evergreen meaning, you know, it's generic enough to use in a bunch of different places. Like my long-term nurture one, that one was a lot of generic stuff. All right, everybody, have a phenomenal day. I'll catch up with you soon. Be well. Good to see you, Joe. Have a great, great week.